Indira Excellence Awards 2023. Today, we are celebrating the Indira Leadership Summit, and the theme for the same is Building Resilience and Agility, the Role of Leadership. Tomorrow, we will be having the Indira HR Excellence Summit, and the theme for which is the Evolving Perspectives in HR, a glimpse into 2023 and beyond. We will also have the Dr. Tarita Shankar Awards for the alumni tomorrow. This morning, we had one panel discussion and 3 very engaging sessions. The morning event featured a confluence of ideas, opinions, and insights of eminent business personalities from all spheres of the industry. This afternoon, we will confer the Indira Leadership Excellence Awards upon our awardees. For the same, can I please request Dr. Pandit Mali and Ms. Madhuri Sathe to please come up on stage. All right. Our first awardee is CFO, Piramal Reality, Mr. Girish Goenka. Please give a huge round of applause. Please put your hands together for Director, Enterprise IT, KPMG, Mr. Somdeep Sengupta. Our next awardee is Transformation Director, HR, Middle East and Africa, Sodexo, Mr. Pradeep Chavra. A huge round of applause, guys. Our next awardee is CEO and Pharma Global Leader, Docrush Global Solution, Dr. Roshan Paliwal. Our next awardee is Senior Director, Talent and Learning, LinkedIn, Ms. Ruchi Anand. A huge round of applause, please. Our next awardee is Partner Director Finance, KPMG, Mr. Somdeep Sen Gupta. I'm so sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. All right, so our next awardee is Director, Enterprise IT, Emerson, Mr. Joseph George. Thank you so much. Thank you. I now request my students, Aditya Mehrotra and Diksha Vanchaure, to kindly take this event forward. All yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are here to take the session forward. The speaker for this session is an experienced financial leader with a proven track record of over 2 decades in driving financial excellence and strategic growth across diverse real estate and commercial sectors. Currently, Sir is serving as the Chief Financial Officer at Piramal Realty. In parallel, as the CFO and Head of Business Development at R Retail Ventures, Sir has orchestrated financial strategies that contribute to the growth of the company.
Sir's journey encompasses roles of increasing responsibility, which includes head of finance and accounts at renowned real estate entities such as Godrej Properties Limited and Mahindra Lifespace Developers Limited. Sir is a certified public accountant CPA USA holding a CFA designation and earning a Master of Business Administration MBA with a specialization in finance and financial management services. Sir brings a blend of hands-on expertise and strategic financial acumen that enables Sir to drive sustainable growth and value creation.
Please join us in welcoming Chief Financial Officer, Piramal Realty Private Limited, Mr. Girish Goenka.
Check. Hi. Hi. I'm audible, clear? Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I guess this would be one of the most interesting session just after lunch. I can understand the energy level what you guys would be having right now. I would request you to bear with me, cope up with me for next 20-25 minutes. Right? I can see the eyes open and the minds open also as well. I'll just take you through. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. I'll just take you through. So the topic what I've chosen today is a bit about the organization, the financial organization, and the second level leadership. How the second level leadership can help the company and also the individuals to grow and take up and grow up the ladder. Right? I think this. So the agenda of the topic is how the typical organization structure works right now. What was the role of a traditional CFO till now? How the rules are changing. Earlier the CFO's roles were very different as compared to what a CFO is required to do today, or what is expected from the CFOs to do today. And the challenges, and like CFO, there are various CXOs in the companies. So what kind of challenges a CXO or various CXOs are facing in the companies nowadays? And if you take care of that, how the second level of leadership can step up, take the role, help up the responsibilities of the CXOs and grow up the ladder. And we'll speak a bit about the growth organic versus inorganic and vertical versus horizontal growth. Right? This is a typical organization chart, but every company is having a CEO, CFO, led by various CXOs from finance, accounts, marketing, costing, budgeting, admin, HR, legal. Every functional, every CXO head is required to bring the expertise to the table, and together they are required to take the company or spearhead the company to the next level. Right? If you just run to a typical role of a CFO, till now, a typical CFO role was largely managing the books of the company, like he was the compliance officer for a company. He or she was required to maintain the books and records of the company. Audit, compliance, tax. I think when you talk about finance, tax becomes an integral part of that. So managing the accounting, tax, indirect tax management. I think this was the most important activity what every finance function is required to do, the cash flow. Every company, the backbone right now is the cash flow. So this was one of the most important activity what every CFO was required to do. Treasury and banking and fundraising. This was largely what a CFO was required to do till now, right? And typical, the way organization is there for the company, a typical CFO or the finance and accounts department was also divided into various verticals, where in our accounting vertical is the accounts payable, direct tax, the treasury operations and fundraising. The various verticals are there, and the vertical heads will take care of the responsibilities and help CFO to work and take care of all the other functions, whatever is required. Right? So this was typically what we used to do till few months back. How the roles are changing now, right? So earlier, a CFO, a finance person was a financial champion. Now it's not only about being a finance function, it has to be a strategic role. You have to think about the strategy. Just few hours back, we were discussing about like, what do you think about next 3 years, 5 years down the line? You have to plan for next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, what's the direction your company wants to move in, what would be the market, what you assume, the global challenges, the local challenges would be there, and how do you spearhead your company, how do you plan, because there is spikes, the cycle would not be a straight, there would be spikes. How do you manage the company in the uptrend, and how do you plan for a downturn? I think that is the top strategy, what a CFO and all the CXOs are required to do right now, rather than getting into a functional leadership and bringing the functional knowledge on the table. Rather, the CXOs are required, a CFO or a CXOs are required to think about the strategy. It's not only a role of a CEO or the MD, it is the role of all the CXOs, second level CXOs, to work on that lines. Earlier, the CFO was managing largely the finances and reporting to the CEO. Now, I think the one person which CEO likes to go more often than not is the CFO. A lot of strategies are discussed hand in hand with the CFOs, how the work would be doing. It's no more a finance or accounts number driven function, it's more of a strategy. And the next person to the CEO is the CFO. And together, along with the other CXOs, both the people would like to take the company to the next level. Generally, we used to believe that a finance function is kind of a postmortem function, a reactionary function. So, aapne bill submit kiya, we will check it. We will pass the bill and we'll make the payment. Then we'll do the accounting, record it and do the accounting part of it. That was generally what used to happen a few months back, few years back. But now, as we just mentioned a few minutes back, that we have to think about few years down the line, what will happen, how the market would react. There could be a recession coming here next 3 years down the line. How do you plan for that recession? How do you envisage that when the markets are bad or the times are tough, how do you plan it? And when the markets are good, how do you plan your expansion during that mode? So you have to be more of a proactive for expansion and also mitigation of the risk. Compliance definitely was one of the important part, but now it's more of a growth and development. Earlier, CXO was one of the functions, CFO was one of the functions. Individually, people used to go check and come back. But now, if you see, it's a board of people sitting in the room and discussing what things are to be taken care of. So instead of now, all the roles are, instead of an individual contributor, all the roles are more of becoming advisors and collectively take decisions on that side. So you have to be open up that it's not, I cannot see anything only from one function, only a function of accounts or compliance, but as a company as a whole, how do we take things forward? How do you see things on a complete perspective and take calls along with that? I think this is the most important point what I see. Earlier, we used to be the number champion. We used to just crunch the number, but now it's not only about crunching the number, it's creating the value. With the same numbers, can you create a value? Can you bring the number value on the table? That's largely what is required from a CFO, or in fact, all the CXOs right now. So the role is moving completely from a finance or accounts number to a strategic and a value creator. So that's what we see. We call ourselves as a chief value officer nowadays. And you think about the future. That's why the term the chief future officer also comes into the picture, because who better than the CFO knows the past numbers and the future trend, and who on the Excel sheets and doing some modeling and all, you know what the future is and how would you around to play that. So the CFO also has to step into the shoes of a chief future officer. Transition, I think COVID has taught one thing, that transition has to be there. There was a time when all the functions were working from home, work from home concept was very limitedly heard of. But I think last 1 year, people have seen that due to transformation and all, everyone can work on home, and it has not only brought the operational benefits, but also the financial benefits people could see from working from homes. And whatever the transitions you can do over a period of time, the technological intervention, whatever you can bring in, it not only helps you get the people, get the business, but also saves the money. You know, the business where I work in, real estate, or a house is one of the biggest investment or biggest purchase a person is going to do. till COVID, till pre-COVID, everyone used to visit. For buying a house, they use at least 10 to 12 visit a person or the family coming to a place, checking every aspect and then buying it. During COVID, we could see that the biggest investment could also be done without visiting the place, through online, through people, and we had biggest sales from abroad market. Around 20 to 25% of the sale came from outside India. People sitting abroad, just through technology, were able to buy the houses. So if we have not planned, if the transition was not there, if the transformation was not there, people who were not on those lines had lost that business. So this kind of things may come up in future. If not COVID, something may else come up. So you have to be prepared for that. So cost cutting, I think, definitely is one of the most important role what a CFO is to face always. There is always a pressure on the cost and the profitability, what every CFO has to work upon. I think largely what we discuss about the key roles of the CFO is morely towards his catalyst, strategist, operator, and also a steward. I think the majorly goals, what we discussed, I'll just pass by on that. So what are the major roles, new competencies a new CFO would be requiring? So in managing, while along with managing the cash flows, the company, they have to also ensure the assets and the liabilities of company are very well managed, and they are all very much in the control level. So organizational leadership, strategic value creator, and adaptability and resilience. These are the more of the competencies what is required from a CFO in the near future. I think if you see CXOs, there are a lot of challenges which every CXO faces in. So what are kind of challenges, what real-time CXO face in, and how that can be mitigated through different ways. I think most of the people would agree on this. The biggest challenge what every company is facing is hiring the right talent, and second is retaining the right talent. While we see a huge mismatch, there are some places where the talent is not getting absorbed. On the other side, it's really difficult to get the right kind of talent which matches with the company. So for every company, the biggest challenge right now is to hire the talent, because the biggest asset for a company is the talent, is the manpower, the people working for them. How do you hire the right candidates, right people, and more important, how do you retain the right talent? I think this is one of the biggest challenge what every CXOs are facing in their respective department today. Second would be the remote, supporting the remote workforce. As we discussed, COVID taught us that the work from home, there could be a hybrid structure. Now we have seen people working in different countries, different locations, at a different time zone with different value systems and all. How do you bring everyone at the same place at the same time, and everyone is working towards a common goal of the company? I think this is one of the another major challenge what other level CFOs now faces in. Business is all about forecasting. How do you see the business would be next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, and you start working on those strategies now. You have to plan for 3 years, 5 years in advance now. So how do you assess what could be your, how do you forecast your next 3 years, 5 years, and you plan for it? I think this is one of the biggest challenge. You cannot be caught napping that when the time comes. You have to be prepared well in advance. So how do you do the forecasting? By using various tools, your knowledge, the industry experts. I think that is one of the biggest challenges what all the CXOs would be facing today. And I think one of the biggest make or break of any company, be it a small or a big company, cash flow management. Of all the priority list, I rate this as the number one. Like in case if your cash flow is not under control, your business would go for a toss. If you see the companies right now, and especially if I see real estate from the real estate perspective, the company, if you want to go and invest, which company you will go and invest in? If you want to buy a house in an under construction property, which developers you will choose? The people who are having cash, a promise that they will deliver, or you know that this developer is running through some financial crisis, you go and invest your hard-earned money out there. So if you are not, it's not only about managing your cash flow, it's also about the business. If you're not able to manage your cash flow well, I think your future business also takes a hit on that. So there are a lot of challenges what we see, and the companies are growing, the business is growing, and the place where we are in, the country where we are in today, India, I think the world is looking upon India, right? Every investment is coming into India. Everyone wants to be a part of this growth story. So that means, as we also discussed, that there is a shortage of talent. So the thing is, the way you can grow is the company grows, people grows, and you have a growth from within the company. The people you elevate the people a level each while the company is growing, the level of people are growing, and then it's a sustainable model wherein as compared to where you get daily new people in and at new people at a different level. So how the second level of leadership can help in this, right? So if I see, if you have seen the earlier structure, there was a CFO and there were a few verticals out there. Can a second level of leadership get generated like out of the 5-7 verticals? So this is for finance function. This would be good for any other function as well. So right now for under a CFO or in a finance function under CFO, there are 7 to 8 verticals, sub verticals. Can 1 or 2 people step up and take care of 2-3 verticals below them so that the next level of leadership is generated? And me as a CFO, I don't have to deal with 7 people. I can deal with 2 people and I can improve my skill, and also the people or the team below gets a level of elevation there. So this model, I think, can be utilized or is being utilized across sectors, across companies, across functions. The moment your level, the team is stepping up one level, the company is also growing, and you are getting people from within the company to take care of the responsibilities. The second level of leader, the subject matters can step up and take more responsibilities out of them. I think if the second level leadership takes more responsibilities, then people at the CXO levels can also take more responsibility. So maybe I can take 3-4 functions together, take care of 2-3 functions together, and similarly other CXOs can take care of 2-3 functions already. And you are preparing next level of CEOs to take care of the growth. Now the pyramid, it's like a pyramid. Your one level of business is there. Maybe you're dividing into sectors, geographies, and all. So you have a leader for one particular sector and one particular geography right now. So if you see this way, every level is getting elevated, and if elevation is happening at every level, the knowledge of the company is increasing, the knowledge of the people is increasing, and this way this becomes a sustainable model. Instead of getting people from outside, the people from within the company can take care of the higher responsibilities. So what things should be taken care of for aspiring CFOs when you students, when you go to the market, when you get into the industry, what things you can keep in mind so that next 5 years, 7 years down the line, when you're taking higher responsibilities, what kind of areas you can work upon, right? So generally what I've seen is people work on a functional thing and forget the leadership level. I feel right at the first level itself, you can start behaving like a leader, take responsibilities, and start taking decisions and moving ahead. If you start at that level itself, I think in next 3-4 years, you are ready to become at least a leader in certain program. You become a team lead, you become a general lead of that department, and that's where your journey towards the CXOs can be elevated. So if you are only a doer, I think your journey would be pretty late. If you start taking decisions and if you start working or taking more responsibilities, I think your journey would become a bit simpler and a bit faster. Think more of a strategy. Everything, whatever you do, think from a strategic perspective, not only just from the doing perspective. If on everything what you are doing, strategy comes into picture, you think from a strategic perspective, I think you will be in a better position to understand things and take better calls. So I think as we discussed, these are the focus areas what I feel is second level leaders can take, and if they focus on these areas, it would be a bit easy for them to take the leadership positions in the company in the near future, right? Largely, as we speak, they have to be strategists and they need to take calls. what could be the tools what we generally are trying to use for the leaders or for us also to help take faster decisions are digitization. I think this is non-compromisable right now. I think everyone has to work on digitization. Even a simple function has to be digitized. You have to be a value creator. You have to create value in whatever you are doing. Innovation in whatever you do is the key. Everything cannot work on the way it was working in the past. Every day you have to think in a different manner. How do you innovate and work on a better thing on that? Technology is the key. Go forward, anything and everything is technological driven. So how you are adapting yourself to the technology, how you are bringing technology to a better use is what is largely required. And you have to think well in advance how you can use technology for better results. I think digital transformation, what we talk about, these are the major things like building trust and purpose. If you're doing anything, if there is a trust, if your leadership team shows trust in you, if you do things wherein a trust is developed, I think it would be better for you and for the company so that the decisions can be taken, that the leaders can work on, can think of working on some higher responsibilities. Yeah. Enabling growth and enabling workforce equity. I think to maintain it, growth, showing a growth part to the future generation is very important. How do you show everyone that this is your growth in the company so that the talent does not move out, it remains in the company. If you are given a growth path, I would like to stay in that same company for a longer time vis-a-vis if I'm not having a clear vision of my growth path. That's right. I think the key thing right now is diversity and inclusion, and every company is working on this very largely, diversity and inclusion. People are working on different ways. The diversity is not only about women ratios, diversity about people from various aspects of the society, from various economical aspects of the society. I think that diversity is very much required. I think this is very common. Are you a boss or a leader? People would like to follow a leader rather than follow a boss. So I think principles guiding the leadership, what we believe is largely is you have, whatever your vision is there, it has to be shared. There has to be absolute transparency between you and the team below so that your vision becomes a common vision, not only for you, for all the people or the team members who are there working along with you. Right? As we discussed that there is a process which is being followed. You can blindly follow that process or you can challenge that process. Okay, I can bring out some different aspects in that process which will help me take different calls or take different routes, but simplify the process. So the growth, go forward, like there would be growth. The growth can be organic, growth can be inorganic. For every company, for every person, how do you see a growth is there, whether a growth is generally what we see about an organic growth, if the company is growing, I'm also growing, that's such organic growth. You grow along with the people, or you grow along with the company. But where the company is not growing, this becomes a difficulty for you. Inorganic growth is where there are a lot of mergers and acquisition which is happening. Over here, when you're doing a lot of, so normally the company is growing at 10x, 10% every year. But when you acquire some other companies, your growth level increases. Now the leadership plays a very important role when this inorganic growth happens. How do you merge different values? How are you ready to take up this inorganic growth challenge? When a company is growing at 10x, you are prepared for it. But when the company is growing at 2x, 3x time, then are your leaders prepared to take that kind of challenge, take care of the business when the growth is this much? So you have to be prepared for inorganic growth as well. Generally, what we see is a vertical for an individual, whether it's a vertical growth is like you grow up the ladder. You are you're an assistant today, you become a manager, you become a general manager, and you move higher up the ladder, where you go into a function. Especially from a finance function, what happens is you become a specialist, maybe for a direct tax, maybe for indirect tax, and maybe for accounting. You choose one field that I want to be a specialist of one field, maybe accounts, maybe tax, maybe direct tax, and you go up the ladder on that side. So that's generally a vertical growth. Or the other growth pattern could be that So instead of vertical growth, you may choose to become not a specialist, but you tend to put your hands across of various levels. So I am doing tax also, I am doing accounting also, and I am doing other aspects as well. So your growth would be a horizontal growth where you're not a specialist of one thing, but you have knowledge about thing, and you become a general manager kind of thing out there. So your leadership skills will depend whether you are inclined on a one particular subject, whether you want to do a specialization in one particular field, or you want to be a master of or you want to have a master in every other field what is there. That was largely about the leadership and the second level of leadership what we can come from. Any questions? I'm happy to take them. So absolutely. So there is COVID today. Abhi jaise Russia ka war ho gaya, it was not prepared. So there could be something else. Are you prepared for that? Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Any further questions?
A very good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
My name is Siddharth Joshi.
Hi, Siddharth.
And sir, it's lovely to attend your session, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Sir, my question is to you that what effort can we do to become a successful leader tomorrow?
So I think for me the key thing is knowledge about whatever you do. So it's important that you should know about the subject whatever you're doing. It's not like someone has told me to do, I'm doing it. Even if I say to my team that even if you're writing a check, don't just write a check, please try to understand why you're writing that check, why this amount is there. In every payment right now you have to deduct tax. Simply don't go and see why ये tax क्यों इतना काटने के लिए. You have to understand why that tax is there. So whatever you do, get into the depth of it. Take calls, take challenges, and I think that would be, if you are taking calls, you are taking responsibilities, I think that would be the way to work. You have to be functional expert. You have to be best in whatever you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for this lovely session. So my name is Indira. So my question to you is, so you talked about value creation as a necessary component for future CXOs. So could you please elaborate on that?
So absolutely, so on the value creation part, what happens nowadays is, if I see from the CFO lens, for me, the most important part would be to manage the cash flows and manage compliance. Am I creating value out there? I'm not. There I'm protecting the value. Can I go a step further? Can I see that tomorrow, like we have seen over here, there would be the businesses which would be ups and down. If I am prepared, so right now what happens in our company or even a real estate, there are a few projects when one project is doing extremely well in sales, well the other project is not doing so well in sales. And generally our every year target is to go and increase the prices by 5%, go and increase the sales volume by 5%. Just by increasing the price or giving the discount, your value does not get it. As a finance officer, can I give my sales team few tools which will help them sell and collect the money faster? So maybe not only, maybe not a discount, can I give them some tools that, okay, in this project I'm sitting on cash, you need not collect the money faster. For me, sale is important over here. You go and sell the product, and the money can be, I can give you timeline instead of a normal 30-day period, I can give you a 60-day period or a 90-day period to collect money in this project, but it may help you do the sale faster. So just by not by doing a compliance part, if I'm giving tools or I'm helping you to create value, that's largely where I come from.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Ruthvi Deshmukh, and I would like to ask you that how do you compete with other real estate companies in a city like Mumbai, where you have n number of competitors?
So, as we discussed, real estate is one of the biggest investment or biggest purchase what a person would be doing. In real estate, the first and the foremost thing is the trust. If I am investing the money in this person, in this company, will I get the product? Will I get my flat at a promised time? That is, I think the trust is one of the most important factor, especially in real estate. Not only real estate, every other player. There is a lot of offerings. Secondly, whatever you promise, are you delivering? Third, what we do is think ahead of the time. Like we are giving futuristic homes. A home can be just a four walls with a door and a window, and that's a home. We are giving them futuristic home. This is something which maybe other developers are also giving, but are you thinking way about the time and doing it? I think in real estate, what works the best is the trust and value for money. If you are able to do that and deliver what you have promised, that's largely the key what we follow.
And addition to that, and what challenges you face to bring in the investors?
Absolutely, you know, a real estate business in India is one of the most challenging business. Uh, we buy a land today, and we have to deliver the house. That delivery would happen 5 years, 7 years down the line, right? There would be huge challenges across. The investors are very much worried that whatever we promise today, we show a vision to the investors. We show a return that okay, you will be getting say X returns. How do we ensure that over a period of next 5 years, that return what we have promised to the investor 5 years back, we are able to generate and give that kind of return to the investors out there. So thinking well in advance, there would be a lot of ups and downs. If you are able to mitigate your ways well in advance, like the cost escalation would be there, the price escalation would be there, the funds would dry up sometime. So all those through difficult times, how you able to mitigate it, manage it? If you have an answer for all that, I think the numbers can be taken care of. And in India right now, I think the markets are booming. There is demand for anything and everything if you're delivering the right product at the right price.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good
My
afternoon.
name is Sonali.
Hi.
As you said, the right talent. Companies are not able to find out the right talent. So, how can you please elaborate that point? That how should we be the right talent for the companies in next coming years?
Absolutely. So, you know, right now, what has happened is it's not about like I am having a real estate experience, I'll get a job in the real estate only. It's about your mindset. Like whatever you're doing, are you just following it? What you've been told to do, or you think you apply your mind and you're ready to take calls. Like if I give an example of finance, what has happened, whatever we have learned last 20 years, everything we have to unlearn. We had learned accounting standards, new accounting standards came in India, we have to forget that. We talked about service tax and VAT, new GST came in, we have to forget everything and move ahead. So it's not about what you know, the way you approach things. The problem is that the way you approach work, I think that is the most important part for any candidate to work upon it.
Thank you, sir. And we have you have also given us all the questions as a MBA student. We have the questions, lot of questions, and you have given the answers to it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Due to lack of time, we're unable to take any more questions.
Thank you very much, guys. It was really a pleasure being here. Thanks a lot.
The chief officers of an organization are its pillars.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for shedding light on the roles and responsibilities of CFOs and CXOs. Thank you, sir, for making us understand it is not just about finance, but also strategic aspects, proactive approach, value creation, and being prepared for situations. It was indeed an insightful and a knowledge accumulating session. Thank you, sir. Now we have a panel discussion on the topic digitization strategy for business transformation. Our first panelist is Mr. Joseph George, Director, Operations IT at Emerson.
As our next panelist, we have Mr. Somdev Sen Gupta, Partner Director at Finance KPMG. The next panelist is Mr. Kaushik Ghate, Senior VP and Head, Customer Analytics and Data Science at HDFC Bank.
The moderator for the session is Dr. Dipanjay Bhalerao, sir. So please put your hands together for our amazing panel members.
Over to you, sir.
Welcome all. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and faculty members, directors, and all students. How are you doing? How's the day going on? Great, fantastic. The topic, digitization strategies, why is it important? Because when I have this device in my hand, I feel that the world is at my reach, isn't it? And that's why this topic, digitalization strategies, and the way three elements, the trinity, Jandhan, Aadhaar, and mobile, are driving the digital movement in India. We have another trinity from industry, leading from their own sets of expertise and own areas of sectors, who are going to drive this session and panel discussion today, sir. So welcome. I welcome first of all Mr. Kaushik Ghate, who comes from banking vertical and who has expertise in analytics, and comes from a very good recruiter from our campus, HDFC Bank. Thank you, sir. We have next panelist, Mr. Joseph George, who comes from a blend of manufacturing and IT. So he's driving IT implementation at Emerson, who is a global leader in manufacturing. And we have then Mr. Somdev Sen Gupta, who comes from a blend of another two important sets of areas which drive digitalization, that is banking and consulting, sir. So he has been into CRISIL and currently heading divisions in KPMG. So really nice blend to have this panel discussion, and wide and diverse discussions may happen. To open up the discussion, friends, I'm going to give you two news. One is good news, okay? So the good news is that we are really doing good in IMD World Digital Competitive Ranking. We have recently moved from a bit of lower ranks to 44th ranks in world. So we have entered into top 50 now. Isn't it a good news? Okay. Now I'm going to give you another news. Generally the trend is that another news may be a bad news, but I'm going to give you a greater news. Okay. The great news is that we are doing #1 in world in which part? Digital payments. 46% of digital payments happening from India, 89.5 millions, right? Now, you see this is a spectrum. Somewhere we are doing really great, somewhere we are yet to do great, right? So this discussion is bridging that thing. Where are we doing what, and where do we need to do more? Okay, so these are the things that we will do. We have handsome 30 minutes of time, sir, and we can have 2 rounds of discussion on these 2 areas. So I'd like to open up the question to Somdev, sir. So you come from a blend of consulting and banking and all, and regulatory areas are also your experience areas. Could you please tell us, how is India faring in digitalization strategies implementation vis-a-vis as we see in the global scenario? So where do we stand? How are we placed in comparison with the global scenario?
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. So for the last 3 days, I was privileged to be part of GFF, that is the Global FinTech Fest, which is taking place in Mumbai, which actually concluded yesterday. Now, you spoke about we being #1 in the payment space. And you know that NPCI, which is the payment backbone of the country, so they came up with a lot of innovation, and some of them were displayed. So I don't know how many of you followed it. So now, actually, you don't require your debit card anymore to withdraw money from ATM. So you have this UPI ATMs. Then, now there is a new feature, which is UPI Lite. So even if you don't have internet connectivity, you can actually do some transactions. Then there is a whole, generative AI, that is the voice-based payments that is being introduced. And, the numbers are staggering. So in August only, 10 billion transactions took place through our UPI platform. And the whole, idea, I mean, the way Dilip Asbeswati spoke about that, we can actually be 10x of that. So 100 billion transactions every month. So these are like, astounding numbers. Another thing, we all use FASTags now. There used to be a lot of leakages when it comes to toll collection because of, maybe corruption, maybe, people are not paying toll at the time. I think in June or July, again, being a consultant, I like throwing numbers, so just bear with me. I think we collected close to 4,500 crore of toll money through, FASTag payments. So the point is the possibilities are enormous because for any business to thrive, there are two aspects. One is the demand side, another supply side. See, in the demand side in India, because of the fact that we are at a diverse country, large population. So today, you talk about digitally native population in India, which is 692 million. You're like, but then there is another part to it, which I will, your second part of the question, I'll come to that. So any innovation that you are doing in the digital space, any industry, so there are already a huge market available for you. If you are able to cater to the customer needs, if you are able to address the customers depending on their requirement. So every customer will not be having the same requirements. So when we do digital transformation programs, we talk about customer personas. So like your persona, my persona, and the 20 plus people who are sitting here, their personas are different. So, the kind of product, the kind of, the customer journey that they want to kind of see will be different basis that. So that is something, I think we are very good at innovating those things, and we are seeing a lot of innovation which are happening specifically in the, finance sector and also the other sector as well. Apart from that, I think another great backbone that we have is our skill set. Because of, we had been providing, cutting edge IT technology services to, global players over the, last 2-3 decades. So we have kind of, built on those skills, and those are absolutely required when it comes to, doing innovation in this space. And you started the whole discussion saying that Trinity, right? So Trinity in our mythology is Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha. That there is one who is a destroyer, one is a preserver, another is a creator. So to destroy the old process, create new ones, but also need to preserve. What do we need to preserve? Data privacy. We need to preserve our identity, because without that, the whole the whole domino will fall. So that is one thing where I think there is a lot of work to be done when you talk about our overall positioning globally. I think there are 2 or 3 aspects that we need to kind of think through. One is that whole aspect regarding the data privacy, how we are preserving our data. UIDI obviously it's a great source which can unify, which actually has unified the country and has been a kind of, if I have to say, kickstarted the whole startup ecosystem, kickstarted the whole innovation in this space, but obviously it comes with its own challenges.
Wonderful.
Second part is that digital products versus digital services. So there is always, India has been considered more as a service-driven economy. We have not been, great creator of products, cutting-edge products. So even if we talk about, let's say, I know that there has been a lot of controversy that happened when, he said that India can't make a chat GPT. And then, our IT CEOs, they took up the challenge. They said, no, we will make it, give us 6 months, we will make it. But that is a space where I think, we kind of need to be more kind of seen as a leader rather than, be reactive in that space. And the third part is the digital divide. Now, when I told you that we have a digitally native population of 692 million, it's basically 48.7%. So there are still more than half of the population in the country who do not have access to internet.
Yet to be touched.
Yet to be. But again, with the challenges come opportunity. Now imagine if the digital penetration becomes 80 to 90%, what's going to be the size of the target market, the company? So I think we definitely are at a very, very exciting phase. We are seeing a lot of innovation happening. We are, every 3 months new things are coming. Blink and miss kind of a thing. New things are happening, but also there are certain gaps which we need to kind of bridge before we actually come in the top 10 in your first IMG survey.
Wonderful, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's what a wonderful thing that you gave us a overall picture of how's India doing in the digital field. Now we are also blessed to have two representative experts one from manufacturing and IT field and one from the service side, right? So let me take my question to now Joseph, sir. So that since you are leading the IT implementation, digital strategies implementation at Emerson, I take that as a representative of manufacturing industry. And so my request to you is to share with us that since you are implementing digital strategies in manufacturing, what are the challenges that you are facing? How are the things being benefited there in manufacturing? Can you share us top 2 or 3 challenges that you have been facing? Yeah.
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity. I think it's an amazing crowd, very interactive. So when you talk about manufacturing, there are 2 parts to it, right? One is the core manufacturing, where there's a shop floor, where there's a good being made, people work on it, something being produced. And then there is a whole ecosystem of manufacturing, where you have suppliers, you have logistics. I'm sure in the morning you'd have heard people spoke from that perspective. So there's a whole ecosystem of what goes around the manufacturing to make it work. So when you talk about challenges, there are 3 things. One is there's a cost of adoption, right? Whenever you want to do any business transformation, be it digitalization or be it anything, you got to put money to it. And whenever you put money to it, the first question CFOs will ask is, hey, what's my return of investment? And there's a return of investment which is short term, which you got to react. Like when COVID happened, everyone did something, make it digitalized, we reacted to it. And there is also a long-term benefit, where you might not see a benefit right now, but there is going to be a benefit over a period of time. So understanding the cost of it, convincing your stakeholders that, hey, this is something we need to do to survive, versus this is something we need to do to be a leader in the industry or leader in the vertical. So that is the first thing you got to deal with. Second thing is the speed at which you adopt or the commitment you have to transform. Many times we start big projects without understanding where it would land. Somewhere in between, you take a stock at it and then say, hey, we're not doing great at it, and we'll drop things. So getting your teams committed to it. And when I say manufacturing is an area where it's very labor intensive, right? India doesn't have a dearth of people to do things. And when you come back and say, we're going to put a robot that do it, I'm sure it's not going to be took very easily. The good thing is 10 years back, the pushback from your workforce for anything modern, anything adopting to new thing, it would have been very big. But now with the overall ecosystem, everyone has a smartphone, everyone understands there is a technology. I think the overall speed at which people adopt and react to it, that has improved a lot. So while it is a challenge, it is also being fairly managed due to the overall ecosystem of how India has grown as a country when it comes to technology. The third and most important thing is what kind of technologies we adopt. Is it specific to an industry? Is it specific to what I do? Or is it something which is fairly available where I can go look at different options? What I would call that is an interoperability. If I automate something in my manufacturing floor, if my supply chain team or my vendor who's running my logistics couldn't interact with my technology, then it's limited to what I can do, right? From a technology standpoint, I don't want to bore you with too much technical jargons, but the interoperability between different systems has evolved a lot in the last 5-10 years. UPI is a great example where you could have an account in any bank, you could withdraw from any other bank, you could transfer to anyone. So the overall interoperability ecosystem has improved a lot, which used to be a big challenge earlier because you commit to one system, you commit to one technology, and you're stuck with it for the rest of your the plant. Those are 3 things I would consider challenge, but also, as I said, there's good amount of headway we made to kind of deal with the challenge and also move forward with it.
Wonderful. Thank you for giving us that glimpse of the manufacturing industry side. Friends, I hope you are making notes of these things. right? Because a lot of pearls are coming out of their own expertise areas, and I hope you are noting down on your diaries these points, right? Let me move to you, sir. You come from banking industry, and in banking industry, I've personally experienced that things happen in microseconds, right? So, and bank come to know whether I have given my password, everything, payment happens in few seconds, right? So it's a seconds game. So this real time thing has come because of digitalization, and banks are leading it. And SDFC is a best example in that. And what makes this possible is analytics, right? So I would like you to share with all of us that how analytics is playing the role in, in digitalization in banking industry. Yeah.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. So what's happening is that both on buyer side as well as the seller side, analytics is playing a role. On the buyer side, when I'm trying to buy a personal loan on my website, when I'm logging into a form on the website, am I audible at the back? Okay, fine. So when I'm logging into the site, authenticating using an OTP and giving in my mobile number, all that data is generated, and I have access to that data. I get to know which geography the customer is logging from, what device the customer is using, what kind of operating system the customer is logging in from. So analysis of all this data helps me deliver a much more seamless customer journey. That is one. Secondly, it helps me decide what is the most relevant product for a customer, because depending on the customer profile, I determine what is the variant of the product that I should be pitching.
Absolutely.
Within savings account, I have various variants. Within credit cards, I have a variety of cards to pitch. Now, I can't be pitching any variant to any customer. I need to know what is the profile of a customer. If it's a super premium customer, a very affluent customer, I need to pitch a super premium card like a Diners or a Infinia, right? Whereas a mass market customer, I will pitch a cashback card. So that is one way in which analytics is defining customer experience. It is delivering value and digitization. The other part is on the backend side, which is the supply side. I am using data science to automate a lot of processes. So what happens, just one example, in my account opening, I collect PAN cards from the customer, right? Now PAN card carries certain name and the account opening form carries a certain name. Now, if there is a mismatch between the two, it's a problem. I need to go back to the customer and validate what is has he given a wrong PAN card or has he given somebody else's PAN card? So that process, which can be, which is usually manual, data science helps in automating that also. Because what happens, in the back end, the team connects with the NSDL system, gets a dump of all the customer PAN with the names, and in my system, I have a list of all the account numbers with the names along with the PAN cards declared.
Okay.
So I do a match using a fuzzy logic. If that were to be done manually, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resource to do it at the scale at which we are operating. So I need to automate, I can't do it manually. So that's how digitization helps, and that is how analytics is driving digitization.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, and feel free to give any experiences of your own companies also, from especially SDFC Bank or in your own organization. So fantastic. We have now got a hang of what is happening in India in terms of how people are implementing, how businesses are implementing digitization strategies for their business transformations. We will take the discussions, a step ahead now by trying to explore that what needs to be done now further, right? So I'll again take the question to Somdev sir. So are we doing enough, right? So when I say, are we doing enough? My question is towards the other stakeholder. Industry is doing fantastic. They are doing every bit and, fine for digitizing their businesses, and every stakeholder is getting benefited, especially the customers and employees. But there are other stakeholders like government, So like Government of India brought the Digital India policy, and likewise infrastructure. So there are other stakeholders also with you. So is everyone doing enough?
Okay. See, let me kind of, obviously there are too many stakeholders, so I will keep it limited to, let's say, policymakers. And since we are at an educational institution, so we will also talk about academia.
Okay,
So maybe
great,
I'll
great.
kind of stick to
Fantastic.
these two, right? Now, from a government perspective, so I think there has been, lot of the whole digital India, the movement, and a lot of grounds have been made, and the things have been made a lot, very conducive for, let's say, even from a, let's say, taxation perspective and others, for to have a thriving startup ecosystem. So that's something that the government has definitely helped to kind of accelerate the process. Now, if I kind of think from the other side, that is it the government's only job to create that thing? Are they doing enough by themselves? So I'll just give a real example. So this is something that I'm very proud to share, and I've been working with Ministry of Finance on this project for the last almost 1.5 years, and it's still going on. So so during COVID time, I mean, so there was one scheme which was launched, which is called PM Swanidhi. So PM Swanidhi stands for Prime Minister's Street Vendors Atmanirbhar Scheme. So as a part of that, so the street vendors who are like your typical, let's say your, the tea shop owners, or let's say your vegetable vendors, or let's say someone who is selling ice cream on a, small ice cream shop. For them, every bank, I mean, mostly through the banks, it was been disbursed, 10,000 unsecured loan of 10,000 rupees.
Right.
And it was like a massive implementation program, because of the fact that to identify those street vendors at different, obviously, we aren't talking about metro cities here. We are talking about tier 2, tier 3. We are talking about rural India, to identify the street vendors, to get them connected with the banks, from where they will be. Most of the PSU banks were driving this. So, as we speak, 45.3 lakh vendors have been benefited through this scheme. By 10, and now we are looking at 2.0 version. That means if you have already taken that loan, you have utilized it, you have paid back, you get the next tranche, which will be 20,000. And then there is a talk going on that the next tranche would be 50,000. So basically, we are kind of helping the street vendors through digital medium, and the whole condition is that all the payments that we'll accept, you have to have UPI at your, let's say, stall or store, and so certain, obviously comes with certain riders, but that is one thing which had been kind of done by the government to help them during the whole COVID crisis, the COVID process. The second part of the whole initiative is come from the regulators. Now, I'm again talking from the banking and finance industry. It's a highly regulated industry. So regulators, it's the onus is on them to ensure that all the innovations which are taking place, they are within the permissible regulatory limit. Let's say we spoke about data privacy, etc. But they have also been kind of helping the banks and the fintechs to come up with kind of solutions which will be compliant to the regulatory guidelines. And the third point is the whole government of India's initiative of ease guidelines. So ease has actually pushed our banking system to become more and more agile and flexible, and have more the digital interfaces in place. So that's on the government part. Now let's talk about the academia. And the way I see it, it's not only about research and this thing. Academia is not only about research. For me, the academia starts at a grassroots level. So when we were kids, we used to. So there is a concept of argumentative essay, right? You need to write argumentative essays. So when we were kids, we are given the topic science. Is it a boon or a bane? Now my daughter, she is in standard 6. They are given topics like social media. Is it a boon or a bane? So how things have changed. And from academia, from a school perspective, let's say in schools, we do a lot of seminars for the kids who are in standard 5, 6 to class 10, because that's the age where they are getting introduced to this whole digital world. That how do they protect their privacy, what is cyberbullying, etc. So that's the first step, because you are getting introduced to something where the possibilities are enormous, but then there is a flip sides also. So how do you kind of ensure our kids are safe in an environment where mostly things are anonymous? Your academia's involvement start from that stage, because you are building digital citizens for the future. And if they are vulnerable at a small age, then it will kind of not bode well. Obviously, as you grow, then let's say if I talk about a B school like yours, then it comes skill development, because the academia has to prepare or not produce, but prepare the next set of skilled workers, the next set of skilled leaders. So that's where the academia's role comes into picture. That are you changing your curriculum? Are you changing your courses syllabus? Are you introducing those new elements, or are you still kind of going what was happening in 2000 and following the same syllabus? So I think that's where the academia has to kind of work and follow the trends, have more industry connection, industry interaction, and update their curriculum courses to ensure that when students who are graduating from the institute, they are easily deployable, they are easily employable by, and they can pick up those skills faster. And obviously, there is you can say institutes like IITs and all, they actually work as incubation centers. So they are also ideating, they're coming up with new ideas, cutting edge technology, etc. So I think as I was saying, that the entire ecosystem has to come together for this to be a grand success. I mean, people can't work in silos anymore. So everybody has a role to play. I'm sure that we will see that happening. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Yeah, please.
I just wanted to share
Go
a
ahead.
thought. The question was, are we doing enough? I think the one question to ask could be, are we doing too much? Because if you look at it, the way technology exploding and the kind of platforms that are coming up every now and then, I don't think we'll be able to track, or even today we are able to track of what's going on. Now one person will not be able to keep track of everything that is happening, of all the developments that are happening in this space. Recently there was also this statement from someone in the US about this whole generative AI. Should there be moratorium? That in a way tells that there is a sense that too much is happening and we are not in control of where it is going. So that's one thought that I wanted to share.
Wonderful. One last question I would like to ask. In fact, I'll ask you, and then all three of you can focus on that. The target audience is definitely looking to get into businesses, and as you said, they will definitely be a part of that digitization more in future. So can you throw, three of you, can you throw the light on what kind of digital skills that they need to come up handy, and having expertise into that, which will make businesses more digitized, and they will be able to contribute more in that. I think this can be a fantastic question, isn't it, guys? Yeah. So you may be interested in this question, right? So quickly, if you can throw us light, and then we can wrap up.
Thank you. As an organization, we have been hiring from institutes for the last 13, 14 years. Primarily in the northern region. Now we kind of start setting up in western region. One thing what we have seen is, especially students when they come out of college, you have like a lot of energy, you have like a lot of stuff. Knowing things at a high level is very important, so that when there is a conversation, you're able to understand it, have a meaningful dialogue. But also knowing something deep enough to produce result is a lot more important and equally important. So one is, hey, do I have a broad knowledge of what goes on in my industry? Other is, are there specific areas where I can actually go start being productive from day one? The current challenge, what I see when I go to colleges or when I interview people, is folks know a lot, but it takes a lot of time to make it to a productive outcome. So that is something, if you guys could focus on, whichever area you work on, be it like finance, supply chain, digital marketing, any specialty you work on, look at what are employable, productive skills you need to have at what level. There is ton of information available. There's so much of YouTube videos, there's so much of platforms available. So I don't think there's a dearth of knowledge when it comes to where do I get the skill. LinkedIn has an amazing platform, LinkedIn Learning.
And of course, there are a lot of AI tools these days.
Ton of AI tools. So I don't think there's a dearth of availability of how do I get myself skilled. It's more about what do I want to get skilled and to what level. So focus on that. I think that will make you a lot more ready for the industry or be the next level of digital workforce.
Thank you, sir. Can you?
I would stick with the basics. So it would be critical thinking and questioning.
Okay.
Well, it sounds easy, but it's not that commonplace. Because at the entry level where the students would be joining, what would be expected from them is those two skills. Are you asking the right questions? What I ask my team or what I tell my team, especially people who join from campus, you may not have all the answers in the beginning, but are you asking the right questions? And what are the right questions? That's not easy. And second is critical thinking, how to analyze a particular problem statement and how to identify that it's the right problem to work on. There is a lot of solution providers, but I think there's not enough work happening on defining the right problem to work on. So those two things is what I would
Wonderful, wonderful. Sir, would you like to closing remarks?
I think mostly is covered, but I think the main point is that don't ever forget the fundamentals, because that's where everything starts. See, all your digital tools, your analytical solutions, etc., these are all enablers. But if you don't have the fundamentals right, then you will kind of not be able to do well. You will struggle. So like for example, if you want to make a career in analytics, it's very, very important that fundamental statistics, applied mathematics. So those are the things that because the tools come and go, but your fundamental knowledge will remain with you. So that would be very important.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I think let's give them a big hand, all of them. And I'd like to sum up that if we are going to make digitization strategies successful, then what I've summed up from their discussion is we need to take care of this acronym called DIGIT. Okay, so D stands for data, I stands for infrastructure, G stands for governance, and IT stands for innovations in technology. So if these 5 things are taken care, I think digitalization strategies will be really, really successful in transforming the businesses. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much and thank you audience for being a wonderful audience. Thank you very much. Because of time limitation, we are not. Thank you, everyone.
So one of our guests has just joined us. So before the students introduce our next speaker, I would request Dr. Pandit Mali and Ms. Madhuri Sathe to please come up in order for us to confer the Indira Leadership Excellence Award upon him. Ma'am, sir. All right. Please put your hands together for VP and Global Delivery Head Communication, Media and Entertainment, LTI Mindtree, Mr. Amit Gajwani.
moving on to the next session. The speaker for this session is a part of the senior leadership team at LinkedIn in India. Ma'am's focus is to lead and scale up the talent and learning solutions business and to help LinkedIn fuel the region's talent economy.
Ma'am is also a strong DIBS advocate, having previously co-led the Global Economy Employee Resource Group Women at LinkedIn. Ma'am is also a certified coach under Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder-Centered Coaching. With close to 20 years of experience, Ma'am has held various leadership positions in organizations like InfoEdge, Naukri.com, Earthbridge, and GTL Limited.
Incredibly passionate about the education of the girl child, Ma'am is also currently engaged with a girls' orphanage to help train and equip older girls with the skills that will make them employable. Please join us in welcoming Senior Director, Talent and Learning Solutions India at LinkedIn, Ms. Ruchi Anand.
All right, hello everyone. Good to see that energy, and let me start by asking you one question. What comes to your mind when you think of the word ambition? What comes to your mind when you think of ambition? You're all an ambitious batch, for sure. Anything? Dreams? Okay. Hard work? What else? Goals? Passion? Money? Yes. Hustle? Yes. And now tell me, what comes to your mind when you think of the word constraints? When you think of a constraint, what comes to your mind? Limitation. Chains, something that's holding you back. Okay. And why am I bringing both these words together? Which is ambition as well as constraints. So let me share something that I found very interesting. I read this book called A Beautiful Constraint, in which the authors very nicely explain what is our relationship with constraints. If we look at constraints as a limiting factor, the level of our ambition changes. And what tends to happen is that we tend to go into different mindsets when we are faced with a constraint. Of course, it keeps changing, the mindset keeps changing. But there are three very, you'll relate to it, three mindsets. The first mindset is the victim mindset. As soon as you are faced with a constraint, what happens is that, why did this happen to me? I don't think this should have happened. And now that this has happened, I lower the bar of my ambition. I don't think I'll be able to do this now that this has happened. I obviously normally keep giving very work-related examples. Let me take an example for, like, as students, let's say if it's time for your placements and you realize that over a period of time, market's not good. Oh my God, now what's going to happen? Even though I'm aiming to do this and this, and my level of ambition is high, you just resign to your fate and say that, I don't even know if I'll get a job, or I'll do something meaningful, or no, you get dejected. But no, then eventually when things start becoming clearer, you move and you evolve, you change your mindset. The next mindset is that of a neutralizer. A neutralizer is someone who looks at the constraint and does not change the level of ambition, but just tries ways to reach that ambition, that goal, that let me figure out a way to at least get it. Let me at least get a job. Let me at least kind of find a way to at least get going. But the third mindset is that of a transformer. A transformer is someone who uses that constraint as a way to raise the bar of their ambition, which means that despite all of this, I would want to make sure I'm investing my time in learning different things, gaining new experiences. I think the panel so beautifully summed up towards the end around, and it was a very good mix of both, like for example, digital skills as well as fundamentals, as well as looking at, what emotional intelligence is about, creative thinking is about, right? Just as an example that how do you raise the bar of your ambition? And so I think the reason I'm starting with this is I would want each of you to just think about this. And whenever you're faced with a constraint, check with yourself, what mindset are you in? Are you a victim? Are you a neutralizer? Or are you a transformer? Because what's going to happen is as soon as you finish college, our ambitions, and all of you said very good words related to ambition. When you look at ambition, the idea is that yes, my career path should be like this, that I'm going to actually from here, I'm going to plan everything, make sure I'm doing all the right things and I get there. But today things have changed so much that career paths can look like this, but they can also look more like this. So it's no more linear. They say it's no more like a corporate ladder, but they call it's a jungle gym. You may need to take a side step. You may need to take an experience somewhere else. You may need to drop back and go back to school to study something, and then you keep moving. And why is all of that happening? That's because the world that we live in is constantly evolving and changing. It's in constant motion. And there are essentially 4 key drivers of change at the moment that we can talk about. These 4 drivers I would want to put as first the economic forces. So just 10 years ago, the world was very different. Globalization, trade was at its high. The world seemed more united. There was so much trade that was happening within countries. It just seemed like one world. Now we're in a very different era. There is so much of macro volatility in different economies. They are saying different levels of GDP drops, or some are staring at recessions. There is supply chain is really kind of, everything has changed, right? There's so much that changed, and that's impacting the world of work. Because of that, there's a lot of change. The other is generational forces. The reason I call this out, like all of you, we talk about what is it that the new generation or the Gen Z looks for, and they're changing the game. Why? Because today's generation and Gen Z is not just the most diverse generation, but this is a generation that looks for diversity in its workplace, flexibility in its work, sustainability in its, in the environment and how the organizations are dealing with. What matters to them is not just about how companies are looking at profit, but also about social impact, as well as, is that career giving me opportunities to learn and grow? Am I being given opportunities to keep skilling myself and keep growing within an organization? And that's what the generation now is looking for. And that is the reason why the world of work is also changing, because organizations need to take note and keep in mind what talent is looking for as well, and are they equipped? And the fourth one, which I call, is the green transition. Well, the future of our world, the future of our work is closely linked to the future of our planet and the need for a green transition. With most countries having ambitious goals and targets around net zero by 2050, organizations also committing to this, there is a very huge increase, what we see on the LinkedIn platform, on the kind of skills that are required in this, green skills that are required in as far as green transition is concerned, right? So, and all of this that we are seeing is actually leading to one thing, and I think I didn't realize this, but yes, the topic is also around agility, and that's what was also being discussed. What is required the most is how agile are we? What does agility mean for individuals? It is about career growth and relevance, and agility equals and fuels ability in organizations. For organizations, it is about how can they survive and thrive, right? So in the face of all of this, how do we do this? And one thing is for sure, that while there is so much of change, skill evolution is the only constant. That how can I always keep learning? How can we, in fact, the panel also shared so many examples of how fast technology is changing, how companies are adapting, and so are people working on those technologies, right? And that's why I've actually added this particular statement, which I believe is very true, that job titles of tomorrow are not defined yet, but the skills are being developed today. And Again, as per LinkedIn data, we look at global data, we look at India data, the skills shift that we have been seeing between 2015 and now for the same job has been over 30%. And it is slated to grow up to 60% skill shift in the same role. So we say your job is changing even when you're not changing your job. What does that mean? That let's say, for example, if I'm a sales professional, the top few skills that I needed to be successful in my role a few years ago are very different now. Can I do negotiations virtually? Can I manage my team remotely? Can I get to know the customer and build rapport even if I'm not able to meet the customer in person, right? There's so many aspects, and that's just a very simple example I'm giving you, but overall there's so much of a skills shift that we've been seeing. And that's how even when we talk about leadership, there is a big change in the way leadership has evolved, right? From a very authoritative style, I mean, over many, many decades ago to for the recent so many years, we've been seeing a shift to servant leadership, as well as the focus on and the need for emotional intelligence, the need for, and I've actually listed it down here, that if you look at what is very critical as far as attributes for leadership are concerned, the few of these that you see here: character, integrity, honesty, humility. How are you building that in you as leaders, as future leaders, right? How do you understand that deeply first to be able to then take that on? Vision, do you have the ability to craft that vision, look at that bigger picture and not just think, yes, think of here and now, but also look at what's larger? Resilience, again, that was talked about earlier as well. How resilient are we? Because I think one thing that was spoken of as well, we are not anymore in an economy where cycles used to be like this, but it's sharp up and sharp down. How resilient are we, and can we move and make changes faster? And empathy, this is very, very important. And there was another stat that I can share with you. We've just launched our World of AI report on LinkedIn. And while the need for technical skills and being skilled on AI is important, the other most important skill that is required is your soft skills, your problem solving ability, as well as your ability to be creative. I think critical thinking was also discussed earlier. That's exactly what it is. And when you have that empathy, you can also understand and work better in a team, because that is what organizations really look for. That is very, very critical. How do you not just work as an individual, but together as a team? So one of the things on my topic was nurturing future leaders. Why? Let's talk about why is it critical. The way I see it is these three aspects. One is continuity and legacy. Leaders need to nurture more leaders, because it's also important that we are running a sustainable and long-term business. And we are investing in talent in a way that there is continuity, there is growth, there is adaptation as well as innovation. When we bring in new talent into the workforce, there is more energy that comes in, right? There are fresh ideas, there are diverse perspectives that come in, there are challenges, there are ideas and thoughts that challenge the old norm, which is very important for organizations to be able to move forward. And community strengthening, by that what I mean is it's also about how do you build more set of leaders and you pay it forward. How do you build, or like you say, grow your tribe, keep investing in more people and make sure you're growing, right? And for me, one great example, do you all recognize these leaders on the slide? Anyone? Indira Nui, and does anyone know who's the other leader next to her? No? Leena Nair. Leena Nair, who's the CEO of Chanel now. She used to be the global CHRO of Unilever. So in Jan 2022, she was she has been given the responsibility. She's taken on the leadership at Chanel, and for her, Indira Nui has been her mentor. If you've not read about them, you should. I would strongly recommend. And the reason I put this picture here is this, to me, is a classic example of how an already very successful leader like Indira Nooyi continues to invest in other leaders, and Leena herself an accomplished leader, but still needs to be mentored by a leader. Yeah. So I'm anyways coming to the end. So this is what the importance of nurturing future leaders is all about, right? It is about making sure that the how is done by mentoring. It is done by experiential learning. How do you get more and more experiences, immersive experiences? Look at, even as students, how can you get exposed to different different scenarios? How can you take on responsibilities? How can you be a leader even without a title, right? And continuous skilling. Continuous skilling is extremely important at LinkedIn. We keep calling it hashtag always be learning, always be learning. All of us as employees, I also invest a lot of my time every week on learning a new course, because it's not just about learning for something, it's learning in the flow of work. How can I get better at my current role as well, right? And it is a good way for feedback and reflection. So with that, I'm coming towards the end. I just want to say one thing, that as the future leaders, don't forget one thing, that while you are out to do very well in your careers, think about, can you be at that intersection of doing well as well as doing good for your community and for the society. I think when we come at that intersection of both the things, we are able to not just grow ourselves, but we can grow beyond as well. And I want to leave you with this QR code. Take out your phones. This QR code has access to unlocked free LinkedIn learning courses for interview preps, for in-demand skills. I knew this was a time I would get a lot of your attention. It's also on opportunity.linkedin.com. So this, if you're not able to scan for any reason, opportunity.linkedin.com is the page that has, we keep adding LinkedIn as well as Microsoft as well as GitHub. We have a lot of courses for the top in-demand courses, as well as a lot of content on interview prep. So I would want to leave that with you as a small gift. And I would just want to thank you. Thank you for your time and attention. I don't know if, is there any time for any questions? Yes. नहीं पढ़ना पड़ता है, बार बार पढ़ना पड़ता है. Yes, yes. You have to keep learning. Yes. Any questions? Do I see some? Yes, please.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Shrishti Agrawal.
Hi, Shrishti.
First of all, thank you so much, ma'am. It was such a great session. So my question is, can you please highlight some pointers on one of the program that is launched by you, that is Women at LinkedIn? So can you please highlight some points for our guidance so that we can follow your path?
So Women at LinkedIn, in fact, what you heard in the intro, is one of our employee resource groups. We have various employee resource groups, and the idea of that is to make sure that there's a feeling of sense of community and space for women to be each other's, I would say, guides, mentors, space to kind of come and converse and have whatever life stage you are in. If you're facing any issues, we can discuss that. But more than that, we've also done a lot of programs. We do a lot of investing in women. We create programs, like there's a program called Empower In. So with continuous mentoring, and I don't know if all of you know that there's a difference between mentoring, coaching, and sponsoring. So we have sponsors specifically to make sure that how do we move more and more women from middle to senior level roles. How do we mentor women who are again across all levels, and what do they aspire for? And the first two slides that you saw of the career graph In fact, we call it the jungle gym that I spoke about. It's also about how do you want to craft your own career path. It may not just be linear. So it's like also uncovering and pivoting into different directions. What gives you more energy? What is it that you're enjoying learning? What you're enjoying contributing to the community or to the organization? So yes, Women at LinkedIn is a global organization within LinkedIn, and we continue to invest in our women as well as allies.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
I don't know how we're doing on time. Can we take one more question or should we wrap
Yes,
up?
ma'am.
Okay.
Hello. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Let's see, where are you? Oh, yes.
Such a wonderful session.
Thank you.
And I would like to ask a question. My name is Sridhar. Ma'am, would you please tell me how to raise the bar of ambition after putting down so many times in life? How to raise ourselves?
So I would say instead of saying that raising the bar of ambition, it is more about, like, I think what is at the core is self-awareness, first thing. That where am I in my journey? What is it that I need to do? And once you are around, and if you're not able to get clarity around what I need to work on, because self-awareness is also something that gets developed, get feedback from your peer group, from your professors. But what's more important, that once you know what is really holding you back, if something is holding you back, how can you work on it? Because there is a lot of strength in each one of us. There is a lot of resilience in each one of us. And in the face of challenges, we all can see opportunities. But if you feel that you're not able to do that, and you're not able to raise the level of your ambition, now who decides what is that level of ambition? It is actually you who can decide, and it is not comparable to anyone. The other thing is that never define success by someone else's, like they say, never measure success by someone else's ruler, right? So what you may see as ambition and as high ambition could be very different from what someone else sees it. But as far as you feel that you are growing, you're progressing, you're taking a few steps ahead, that is, like, to me personally, that is what is ambition that's growing, right? I want to be better than what I was yesterday. I want to be better in, even if this one specific thing that you're thinking of, how can I get better? So I would say self-awareness. The other thing is, don't measure your success with someone else's eyes. So what it means to you is very contextual, and just make sure that what is it that you're doing that helps you get better each day. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, man, for giving us such wonderful insights on nurturing future leaders, for making us understand the importance of mindset, self-awareness, skill evolution, character vision, empathy, much required for us future leaders. Thank you, ma'am, for being such a great example of women empowerment. The next topic for discussion is new age technologies. We have Dr. Roshan Paliwal, sir, Chief Executive Officer and Pharma Global Leader at Docrosh Solutions.
The next panelist is Mr. Amit Gajwani, VP and Global Delivery Head, Communications, Media and Entertainment at LTI Mindtree. The moderator for the discussion is Dr. Prashant Kalaskar, sir. Please give a round of applause for our amazing panelists and our moderator.
As things get set, good morning. What did I say? Good morning. Good morning. That is really required in today's world, by the way, okay?
Okay, so good morning, Dr. Roshan and Dr. Mr. Amit Gajwani, sir. Thank you for being participating here, sir. I got these two eminent personalities here. One is by qualification as a pharmacist and a doctor, but having a passion in research and has developed more than 400 pharmaceuticals, medicines, and he's contributing in the healthcare segment. And Mr. Amit is actually a core IT professional, also did his MBA, and he's working with LTI Mindtree, which is a tier 1 company, which is more than a 4,000 billion company. So let's take the insights of these two eminent personalities with certain questions. So starting with Roshan sir. We have seen there are so many changes that has happened during this COVID pandemic period, sir. And patients, or rather I will say people, were preferring more of going on online medication or medical guidance from the doctors. So how do you think that whether this trend will evolve further with these new age technologies?
Wonderful question, Dr. Prashantji. By the way, since I'm coming from hardcore from the pharmaceutical, medical, and scientific background, let me take you to the how the Indian pharma industry is altogether is evolving and competing to the global standards, right?
Right.
And then I will connect how the technological evolution, especially considering the COVID-19 like situations and the telemedicines are playing a critical role into that. So will you be interested and feel proud if you know that the Indian pharma industry is the performing at top notch of $55 billion and exporting the medicines to more than 200 countries. And not just that, Indian pharma industry is leading with top 3 position in terms of the absolute size and 5th in terms of the altogether revenues. So that's the power of the Indian pharma industry, and most importantly, entire global perspective is looking towards the Indian infrastructure, Indian pharmaceutical industries to do the development, to do the manufacturings, and most important, which I feel that the Indian pharma talent is absolutely amazing, and that's the reason a lot of investments coming towards the Indian geography, right? So, and more or less the credit goes to all of you because you are going to be the future of the Indian pharma, or let's say the nation altogether, right? So congratulations to all of you. Now, since COVID-19 we witnessed, and we are quite lucky that we managed to survive. I'm using very selective words, managed to survive, because COVID-19 was just one single virus, which we know that how and from where it came. But let me tell you, the virus world is not at end here. It's just a single one virus. There are more than 1,500 such strains of viruses are already there in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Okay, so actually, to be speaking, we are living in the world of bio war, and anything and anywhere could happen without any expectations, right? And in this particular segment, the technology is playing a very critical role, and that is how we got connected. We managed to survive, and we are going to explore and expand in many ways. Now, when I talk about the telemedicine, it's not just about having the telephonic conversation or the consultation between the patient and the doctor. That is obviously a telecall or video call facilities. But on top of that, taking the patient and diagnosing it with the technology, with the AI diagnostic tool, and doctors are consulting face-to-face via the video conferencing tool available in the telemedicine segment itself. And further, the medicines are delivered directly to your home, right? This is how the evolution is happening. Technology taking a center place where in terms of the telemedicines, every single medicines that has been prescribed by the doctor more or less is being delivered directly to your home, because you're just putting the orders or the prescriptions into the applications and getting the services delivered at your service, right? This is not just about the medicines, whether it's a diagnosis, whether it's a treatment, whether it's a cure, whether it's a delivery of the medicines, or whether even the diagnosis of the futuristic diseases. This is all happening in the real world of the telemedicines. And as I said, Dr. Prashantji, here is not the end, here is the start. And in the future is going to be much more driven with the technology. And I think we should be well prepared in terms of how one can boost our immunity, because tomorrow's day is going to be further challenging in terms of so much of impact, biological impact, environmental impact, and on top of that, the virological impact happening on our day-to-day life, which is directly impacting our overall immunity. So these features of telemedicine is going to be there in the future ahead also. Yeah.
True. Thank you, sir. Since morning, we are talking about various technologies like AI, ML, cloud computing, blockchain, and all that. So, Mr. Amit, I would like to ask you, how real is this hype of generative AI?
How many of you all have had a chance to use ChatGPT? Okay, now what I'll ask is, and most of you all must be using Instagram as well, right? Okay, let me ask a question. How much time did Instagram take to reach 100 million subscribers? Any wild guess? It took Instagram 2.5 years to reach 100 million subscribers. Now, how much time did ChatGPT take to reach 100 million subscribers? No, it was 2 months. So that is the difference or the impact of it. See, every new technology follows an S curve. Sometime back that was metaverse. It follows and then it can dip. But lot fewer technologies then pick up again. ChatGPT is one such, or ChatGPT, or for that matter, generative AI is one. ChatGPT is a version of generative AI. So generative AI is a particular technology which in terms of potential perhaps has the highest possible potential to do the right and to be used in the wrong way as well. Like one of the recent, just day before yesterday, I saw an organization which is for hearing impaired kids. You see, when you look at kids who are in 3, 4, 5 years of age, they can't read Braille for that matter, or something which can make them understand things and all that. There's a lot of problem for them. So they have created this company is creating a QR code which will be there on every book, which when scanned will start playing the movie of that book automatically with instructions and which all the entire story. So the person who can't hear will be able to see it by just scanning every possible textbook that exists if the QR code is there on that. So that's how generative AI is impacting in every sense of the word. Last month, one of the largest church sessions or a discourse in Germany was done by generative AI, and it had more in a church. There were more than 800 people in Germany, which has never happened. They said that so many people have never come for a regular sermon as well. And this was done completely by generative AI. Data science, we talk about data science, a lot of people talk about. One of the key industries, the medical industry. When you talk about content science, there's so much content that is available. So generative AI uses that content to actually provide you with information, where at the other end, you have your entire diagnosis, everything, and the content is analyzed. That's done by generative AI. So as a technology, it has some amazing, in fact, there's a very nice, Mr. Peter Hinses, he's a professor at London Business School. He said when they started the curriculum in June 2022, there was no generative AI. Till obviously ChatGPT, the Microsoft funded one, was launched in November 2022. And they had no idea how to deal with it, because everyone could just write an essay, assignment, everything using generative AI, and they were not prepared for it.
Right.
Obviously, now everyone is prepared for it, or to some degree they are prepared for it. And it's going to get better and better from that angle. So it can be used as a means to really enable the society, and it can be used as a means to actually have a solid impact on everything in a negative way as well. So it has both the devil and the angel attached to it. So, but it's a phenomenal technology. So the hype in this case is perhaps there to stay. Last week there was Google had its own conference, the biggest conference that Google has, and 2 weeks back AWS, which is Amazon's web cloud, had its conference. None of them talked about what Google does or what AWS cloud does. They only spoke about them being an AI organization. Everything that they spoke about in the conference for millions and millions of dollars was spent had nothing to do with Google Cloud, had nothing to do with Google Search, had nothing to do with Amazon Web Services or Amazon as a platform in retail. It was all about how AI is going to change the course. They no longer want to be called a technology company. They all want to be called an AI company. Obviously, Microsoft is leading the race in that because of its futuristic investment in ChatGPT. So it's a very real thing, and it is going to have a lot of impact in terms of jobs as well, to certain jobs. Like, can you guess which is the biggest industry that will get impacted because of, apart from administrative and clerical work, but there is one industry which is going to get the most impacted? No, in a negative way. IT industry is going to get impacted in the most positive way, because everything will have generative AI incorporated into it, which means everything that you have built will have to be built again, done again, reworked. So it's going to be very good for the IT industry. But I'm talking about an industry which is more, very old industry, which is, creativity is not an industry, right? Okay. So the industry which is going to be impacted the most is the legal industry. 44, this is a study which has been done. 44% of the work that is happening in the legal industry today will be done by generative AI. Because it's a very administrative clerical work, printing those documents, saving it, doing some analysis, all that will be done through generative AI. So any industry which is very monotonous, regular work, which is going to be happening again and again, generative AI will do it 1,000 times faster at practically no cost. So that is where every industry needs to evolve itself. And perhaps the people who will be least impacted is human beings, because human beings can evolve the fastest. They can learn the fastest, adapt the fastest. And they're still the most low cost. Generative AI is very high cost. To run those things, it needs a lot of computational power. So we are still one of the lowest cost intelligent people, or intelligence that exists. So all we need to do is adapt ourselves and work around it.
Thank you, sir. So moving on to Dr. Roshan. Now, blockchain is also another technology which is coming up, and you are in a distribution of pharmaceuticals business. So how do you think that this blockchain will play in the ensuring integrity of supply chain of pharmaceuticals?
Right. So as I said, in the era of modern world, technology is taking the center place, right? Let it be the artificial intelligence, let it be the machine learning, let it be a data science, let it be the automations, let it be the blockchain. Now, when it comes to the blockchains, as it has a very unique features where the automation happens of the repetitive processes, right? And when it comes to the specific to pharmaceutical industry, where it is driven with the high quality compliance and regulatory observations. So in a traditional approach where medicines from manufacturing to the patient, there is a multiple chain, multiple processes, right? It carries from manufacturing to the warehouse to different, the supply stores, and then it goes to wholesaler, retailer, and then patient. So it's the longest chain it follows to reach to the end user, right? In those segments, there are possibility of earlier where the counterfeiting used to happen, where the original drug used to be replaced with somebody else, and that was a lot of mischief used to happen earlier in the era. But now, since the blockchain we have it, every single step of the supply chain management, start from the manufacturing to the supply to the end user, every single step has been monitored in a real time. Right. And this is how blockchain is evolving and helping to the pharma industry in terms of monitoring, following the compliance, and giving the quality service to the end user by monitoring at every single steps. Now, this is one side of it. The other side, when it comes to the manufacturing as well, when manufacturing of the medicines, the blockchain plays a critical role. So there are many companies, in fact, the not only the multinational, but the Indian multinational companies as well started working on these technologies and already implemented in day-to-day practice to enhance their overall productivity, enhance the supply chain, enhance the non-compliance issues which used to be happen earlier. So that have been called completely under control and mitigated, so that the end user, the patient who is getting the medicine, is getting the 100% authentic, genuine, on right time in the real world. So this is how the blockchain is playing an important role. Now, since AI, we mentioned about that, the artificial intelligence, if you might be wondering, the AI, machine learning, data science and all that, this is the only applicable, or maybe IT industry is using it, but let me tell you, in the real world, pharma industry is as well using the AI and all these technologies. This AI technology, whether it's what do you call the generative AI? Okay, generative AI, I will talk about that because there are a lot of plus and minus when it comes to the pharma. Okay. So in terms of the artificial intelligence, as well as the data science and the automation and machine learning, when we have the, what you call the discovery process, where the selection of candidate molecule, as of now, it's not a medicine, it's just a candidate. So screening of those almost 10,000 candidates to bring to a single drug, which is a process of almost 14 years. So AI has been implemented here. So the screening process of the candidates is completely now reliable, where we expect the accuracy level pretty high, and we can save a lot of efforts, energy, and research on just identifying and screening the candidates. So AI is very effective in terms of the discovery. On top of that, is also effective in giving the preclinical and the clinical outcome trials in a positive way, which used to take a huge amount of time and efforts to ensure the clinical trials data which is got generated is been monitored, scrutinized, and then identified to conclude on the trial outcome. But now, because of this machine learning as well as the AI, this is very instrumental, where I can say, in other words, the process of development of the, let's say, discovery of the molecule, which used to take a earlier very long path of 14 years, in the coming days is going to take pretty lesser path and time, and bring the new molecules to the market in the betterment of the entire mankind.
Right.
This is how the technology is really using into the pharmaceutical and science.
Mr. Amit, our most of students, they are with the marketing specialization. So with this change in the technology, how do you think that the role of a marketing manager will get impacted? Whether it will be a positive or a negative impact, so that our students can be ready for these future jobs?
Sure. How many of you all are pursuing marketing as a career? Quite a few. Okay. So can you tell me, for a chief marketing officer, what does it, I mean, when you have a consumer touch point, right? A chief market, whether you are in pharmaceutical, FMCG, IT, manufacturing, at the end of the day, a chief marketing officer is talking about the consumer. Or let's take very simple, when you're having a product, how do you buy a product? When you get into it, what happens? So when you start buying a product, the first thing is you need to be aware, right? If you're not even aware of the product, how does it happen? So the journey, the consumer touch point journey starts at awareness. Then you start considering that product. So it's called consideration. Then it becomes a confirmation that I'm going to buy this product or this television or this car or anything that you're buying, this laptop. Then becomes the entire servicing aspect of it. And finally, you want to become a loyal customer so that you keep buying the product from the same organization again and again. So it's a journey from awareness to loyalty. And at every single point, the journey is only supported by technology. Because now what has happened is the whole world is very tremendously connected. In earlier days, there was no ways of reaching the consumer. Now you reach the consumer very easily. Just to let you know, let's take any product. You take the Gillette shaving blades that they come. You know, the Gillette blades, the way they are advertised in Asia are very different from the way they are advertised in North America to the way they're advertised in Europe. Now that's first challenge which a CMO has, that how does a CMO make sure, or as a marketing manager, you decide that how do I leverage something like you're working with an agency or something that you're trying to do. How do you make sure that you leverage that same technology, the same capability into every geography as well, right? Because you are no longer dependent only that, okay, I know these 5 people. No, you know the entire technology. That's how it works. Similar, so that's one of the biggest problems that the marketing manager has today. Do you understand what is online media, offline media? Correct. Absolutely. So online, but online media is when you're trying to advertise everything for anything that is being bought online, right? Offline is when you see these boards. Now, as a consumer, you're walking by and you get one message from the online and one message from offline. What do you think? How do you connect that? The journey for a consumer is that I'm coming home, I'm talking on the phone. The moment I come home, the same seamless experience happens on the laptop, on the iPad, on the television, so that you as a consumer get one information about the product. That is only possible using technology. The same continuous experience, because otherwise you're dealing in silos, and that is one of the biggest problems a marketing manager has today, that I am working in silos and how do I unite each one of them. So from a technology perspective, whether it's your paid media or whether it's your own media, paid media is, we had someone speaking on LinkedIn, right? What do you do? Paid media is when you advertise on LinkedIn and you're trying to draw the people in through that advertisement. Your own media is when your organization talks about yourself. Like you publish an article and say that, oh, this is about, like LinkedIn, when it talks about LinkedIn, that is called own media. But when LinkedIn talks about your organization or you, it's called paid media because you're paying for it. And every time you click on it, they make money. Every time you click on it, a company makes money. So the own media, paid media is technology. The entire digital marketing is technology. The journey from awareness to loyalty, how do you make sure that the person stays loyal to you? How do you connect to the consumer, whether it's through messaging and many other things, right? Like a few minutes back, the gentleman who was working in HDFC said he knows whom to sell the credit card to. Well, that is great. But I don't think technology is being used the way it should be used by banks. Like I will still get a call for a loan. I will still get a call to buy a very expensive vehicle. Now a person cannot do both. So you have to understand and segmentize it and do it in a much better way to save energies. So technology can be used in such a strong way when it comes from marketing, and that you need to understand it. So not just understanding the fundamentals of marketing when you're studying, understand how it impacts, how digital marketing is impacted by technology, how this entire journey of a marketing manager is impacted by technology. What can you do over there? Because if you don't understand and you get into marketing, someone else will. So that's where the technology plays the most critical role for us from a CMO standpoint.
Thank you, sir. My next question will be like a common question to both of you, sir. So respective to your field, you can answer to this question. Now we have heard so many things that the machine learning, AI is now taking the much more role in terms of decision makings and all that. Recently, I saw an old video of Mr. Sundar Pichai. He was talking about the Shankara Nitralaya, where the digital imaging of retina was taken place repetitively. And over a period of time, the machine is able to understand what condition the patient is with and whether the patient is going to get the heart problems in the future and all that. So it will be quite easy for a doctor to understand, and accordingly the precautionary medicines can be given to the patient. Similarly, the same ML and AI can be used for the decision making by the management as well. So whether there will be an requirement of a physical doctor for decision making on treatment of disease condition of a patient, and similarly for the top managers, for you Amit sir, whether there will be really a requirement of a top management to take the future decisions, because ultimately the managers are going through the historical data, past experiences, and based on that they're taking the decisions. Same is what machine learning and AI is doing. So because our students probably they are thinking of going to at the higher positions, so shall they think of developing their skills with these technologies so that they can be cope up with this technology part, and ultimately they will be part of this decision making process. So
right. So I will preferably going to respond more from the medical and the pharmaceutical perspective, how this is going to look into it and impact further. First of all, we need to understand technology is although in the center, but it's a enabler, and it may produce the huge data, big data analysis and providing very smart reports outcome, but ultimately at the end of the day, you are the person, the human being has to take a decision. Machine can't take decision by its own. You need to give the command. By obviously, you might design what you call the blueprint with a certain parameters which follows certain parameters and gives the positive command accordingly, right? Or decision accordingly. But at the end of the day, you are the person, we are the person who are controlling the technologies, who are controlling the decision-making process and giving the outcome accordingly. Now, when it comes to the science or the medicine or the pharmaceutical, which is completely driven from the hardcore research, science-based evidence and the facts. So here there is a technology which is supporting, but there is a limitation when it comes to the pharmaceutical or the medicines, right? We can't 100% completely depend upon the machines. We have to intervene and identify the scenarios, the cases, and then give the outcome accordingly or the decision accordingly, right? But yes, having said that, technology is definitely helping a lot, right? Because there are series of data, especially in the pharmaceutical industry or in the medical segment, there are huge data get generated, the humongous data, and this data is a very scientific data, right? And we can archive those data, we can have the smart analytics, we can build the big data analysis on that and create a very easy to references records basis that you can you can be able to take decisions very effectively and accurately. So thereby the technology can play a role in terms of this one. Now the other aspect of the technology from the like certain organ analysis or the predictive, we say is a predictive analysis, right? Where there are some variable technologies, there are some tools by which you can monitor your day-to-day life, this entire cycle for a prolonged period of time, and basis those outcome which controls your pulse, which controls your heartbeats, which controls the rhythm, the pattern, the breathing, the eyeball movement, your sleeping cycle, and many other parameters by which we can able to identify how is your future going to be, whether you are going to be affected by certain XYZ parameters or elements or diseases, and by what time, right? Sure. Because the rhythm what we set, the circadian rhythm as well as our overall lifestyle order, if that is being monitored very regularly, we can derive to a certain conclusion, which is again a predictive and indicative. We cannot take 100% what you call the assurance that okay, this is going to happen certainly, but this is a prediction, this is going to be an indication. There are the chances that basis there could be certain diseases might come. Now, third angle, which I see personally, and I wanted to ask to all of you, how many of you would like to live longer?
Everyone will like to.
और जिसके हाथ खड़े नहीं हो रहे उनका क्या समझूं मैं? Everybody wanted to live longer. Now, my subsequent question, how? कैसे? Right. So thank you so much. So to adding to this, let me tell you some shocking facts. The moment if you know this, you're going, your eyes going to be wide open, and then you realize where we are living all together. If I tell you every single person, whether you are healthy or non-healthy, is fighting or your cellular level, you are suffering with the oxidative stress. You're suffering with the dehydration stress. You are suffering with the acidic stress. Then you will be feeling yourself as a guilty as a patient, right? But fact of the matter, because of this so much of environmental changes, so much of change in our lifestyle and life orders and the habits that we follow, no matter what you eat, it comes with the what do you call pesticides, okay, the chemical fertilizers, which is directly impacting you on your health. No matter what you are drinking, but the water what you are drinking, if I say that is a completely dead and oxidative water and acidic and dehydrative water, which is damaging your cellular system, then don't get surprised. if somebody gets heart attack. Don't get surprised if somebody gets a diabetes. Don't get surprised if somebody gets the cancers. And let me tell you, on other perspective, India becomes a world capital of diabetes in the entire world, and about to be a cancer capital. And these are the root cause. These are the reason why we are, suffering or leading towards that life. But this, we have to work on the prevention. And prevention is always better than the cure. And how that prevention can be achieved is altogether working, taking the use of technology, that's one aspect, but maintaining your lifestyle, your orders, and discipline your routines. If you follow that, okay, and there are certain medical devices which help you to balance out the entire cellular physiology. And by the way, we have 37 trillion cells in our system, in our human body. And if you balance the entire cells, no matter what stage of the person is suffering with, he or she can be coming back to his original health. He can or she can be cured completely. So we have technology, we have the devices, and when we have the overall balance of our routine, we can definitely come back to our original health and work on the prevention. And since we are living in the very fast world where everything is available on a button click, but at the same time we need to literally take care and understand where to click and where not to click. Okay, thank you.
Just before I answer the question on the AI part or the ML part that was mentioned, that what will happen, I'll just say, I mean, obviously, whatever is being said is correct, but I'll also say on the positive side, go and read the book called The 90-Year-Old Life, which actually says that anyone who's born in the 1970s or 80s, for that matter, little late 60s also, you're all born after that. Do you know what is the average lifespan those people will have? And this is a worldwide study done by the biggest economists. 91 to 93 years. And this is Indians included. That's the average lifespan a person will have. This is the study, what it says. Because of technology advances, which will prolong your life. But you need to take care of many things. This is just a statement I'm making. But there are, just go and read this book. It will tell you of 4 things that you need to take care of, which to ensure that if you do live till 91, what are the 4 things to take care of? I mean, obviously not everyone will, but that's the average, right? Because the average today is 70s. And that is for people born in the 40s and 50s. So there is still a very positive aspect to it. But let me answer the question on AI, that whether AI will take away the job of managers or something. Absolutely not. What is AI or what is machine learning? It's modeling. Modeling or data modeling is based on what data is provided to it, right? It's picking up every data that is available free in the world, right? That's why it's able to tell you what's going to happen. What is ChatGPT? It's picking up everything that is available, free content. And using absolutely high computing power, it's deciding that for you, right? But now all my experience that I have, it's not fed into any document. It's not fed into any system as such. So when I still look at that data, I am going to use all the experience that I have and actually make a decision. So till the time all my experiences and my knowledge that I gain over a period of time in live situations is converted into some document or some artificial form, I don't think anything matters. But yes, that's why all the administrative work, someone who was collecting all the data, someone who was sorting all that data and all, that will go away. That will go away. But after that, everything else that is a decision-making power is still with a person who has the experience to make sure. So that's where I think people need to evolve to. And that is why it will not impact high-end roles or high-end jobs or a doctor or anything like that. It will impact the more clerical administrative work as of today. What happens 10 years later? No one knows how it evolves. No one knows, but it will evolve at some point of time. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Roshan, Mr. Amit. It was really a wonderful interaction with you for bringing in all the detailed insights of technology.
So, if I can add just a macro point.
Yes.
No matter how the new age is and is going to be, no matter how the technology is going to evolve, what is important in the modern world is a humanity. So stick to humanity, care for everyone, respect each other's views, opinions, emotions, and live with a strong bond. Ultimately, humanity is on top of everything. Rest of the things keep on coming and going, right? Yeah.
Yes, we can control the technology, but don't let technology to control to us. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having
Thank you all.
here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, panelists, for sharing your valuable insights on this topic. Moving on to the last speaker of the day. The speaker for the session is Chief Human Resource Officer. Sir is a member of Board of Director, Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council of India. He is also a member of Board of Directors, DWSSC, India, Board of Directors, Sodexo Food Solutions India Private Limited. He is also a trustee of Stop Hunger Foundation, India. Sir has also been awarded as the Most Agile CHRO India 2023 by independent jury of ENY Consulting and Economic Times.
A demonstrated history of 20 plus years of experience, including managing large workforce and 85,000 plus employees in national and international locations in digital banking, telecom, hospitality, facility management, food services, pharma and FMCG industry. Sir will be speaking about building trust and inspiring actions. Please join us in welcoming Transformation Director, Human Resource, Middle East and Africa, Sodexo Company, Mr. Pradeep Chawda.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. After listening to the technology, AI, I thought, I'll add some element of HR also, human resource also, leadership also. Because while we have all these technologies to support us, there is an humanity, element, which I think Dr. Rohan and Amit both talked about it, that there will be a human being who will be behind that technology, and how we are going to inspire and how we are going to manage the future of businesses and how we are going to drive is something, it is going to be an interesting fact actually. And yes, if I see me as an HR professional, as a CHRO, some of the challenges which I face as an HR example, we post a job on various social network site. We figured out that 70 to 80% of the candidates who applied are exact job match. Now we figured out, and when we use our tool to figure out, then we understand that the candidates are using AI tool to match the job description and give us a profile which is exactly matching to a requirement. So that adds on a job on the HR side or a recruiter side, that how am I going to screen the right candidate, because you invest a lot of money and resources into it. Secondly, Sodexo is India's largest food company. We have more than 1,800 cafeterias, more than 55,000 people in India, 85,000 people in Asia, Middle East, Africa, globally 5 lakh people working for us, and we are expert into food. So AI and technology is also getting used in food. Example, if you want to create a recipe today, and then if you have 7, 8 ingredients in your kitchen, and you put those ingredients into an AI tool, and then you choose that I want to make a Chinese recipe out of it, it gives you 4 to 5 recipes. However, the matter of the fact is that the leadership, the human intervention is going to be the key here, and it is going to go to the next level. Example, we have more than 1,800 chefs. So if they smell the food, they can actually tell 99% of the ingredients available in the food. And that's the level of probably, human intervention or human accuracy which would be required in future. So the future of business, future of all of you, or future of professionals like us is going to be very, very challenging. We don't need to just survive, but we need to thrive. And most companies who are profitable, who are making their investors happy with the higher returns, are the companies which are thriving. And one of the important ingredients behind this entire element is actually, various leadership elements, which includes the trust and inspiring actions. So trust is important component of any relationship. Employees needs to trust you. If you are going to be future leader, your team member needs to trust you. You need to trust your team member, because at large organization, you cannot do everything on your own. The days have gone where the leaders were the only person who were going to influence and change the organization. It is no more the leaders. These are the team of people, or there are various organizations are using a commando style of an approach or a leadership wherein a team of 5-10 people goes and wins the contracts or wins the businesses. So no more a leader and individual is important. So any of you who are thriving or who are aspiring to become a future leader, don't ever think that you are going to be the center stage. I think you will be part of few people who will take certain decision. So the your ability to adopt, inspire and guide others is going to be very, very important. Leaders in future is no more a hierarchy driven. And I'll tell you the issue with the hierarchy driven leadership. I think many of the organizations, even in institutes, you have a like sir culture or something. You have to call somebody sir, and probably you have to get up. In companies, when you go, you will not have those kind of things happening. And don't get surprised if somebody doesn't call you with sir or something, because the culture now is completely transforming. The culture is about building the trust and inspiring. People are looking forward for you or for you as a leader to inspire others. And how are you constantly driving those values inside you is something which is going to make or break your career. I'll give you one quick example. When I did my management, there were toppers in the college, they were average, and there were below average students also. But leaders or the batchmates of mine who really kept their element of leadership competencies and the trust element and some of the important ingredients of leadership, which is empathetic leadership and other things in their core heart as a personality, they were the people who are thriving in the organization, because the future organizations are not looking for smart and knowledgeable leaders, because the knowledge, as the previous session also said, that if you go to ChatGPT, you look for anything, you get it in few minutes, and you get it even in a more sharper and more effective manner. And the knowledge is completely going to be not going to be only ingredients for your future success. So what is going to be the future success is basically your leadership style. How are you going to thrive in future? Let me give you some perspective here, if I can just get a next slide. So in Sodexo, we are talking about, when we talk about culture, when we talk about leadership competencies and other things, the first thing comes into our mind is values. If you see a family as a unit, every family has a value system into it. And a family which has a strong value system, or institute or your campus has a strong value system, these are the campuses which are thriving. So most companies are focusing on value system, even if you think them companies investing in technology, digitization, many other things, but they have not left the basic component of leadership, which is value system of the company. And Sodexo values are service spirit, team spirit, and spirit of progress. And one of the spirit of progress means that the organization, the competition, the market is going to continuously change and modify and challenge you. How are you going to create a mindset in you which is constantly progressive, constantly evolving, constantly look for newer changes, technology advancement? Are you a person who is looking for future, or you are trying to solve the today's problem, is something which your future employer will look into, and most companies are looking into it. And just we manage a large scale education institute also as one of our client, and we figured out that automobile engineering as a course is completely going through a transformation because of the EV sector. The food industry is completely going to get transformation because of the way the people are talking about that, where the food is sourced from, sustainability and many other things, the nutrition and food level and other element. Let me quickly tell you about some of the beliefs also. We as a company strongly believe loyalty, respect, transparency, business integrity. These are some of the values which we believe into. And just talking about respect for people as one value, in our company, there are a lot of time in some of the company it is cool to use some of the jargons and words like honey, how are you, or this thing. But in Sodexo, it's honey is not really a great word to be used. And some companies have issues with abusive language also. It's cool to use a particular abusive language in some, I won't tag a particular sector into it. But in Sodexo, one abusive language, even if you're a CEO of the company, you're out of the organization next moment. So how are you sticking to your basic beliefs, your fundamental values in the organization, which is integrity and respect and other things, are going to make or break your career? You feel that, oh, your knowledge and you being very flamboyant, or maybe you are very effective communicator, will take you long in the future. No, it's not going to take you long. It's about your basic fundamental value system or belief system which is going to make and break. Many of the HR colleague of mine, they are not acceptable by employees. Employees don't like them, or they don't accept them as leaders. The issue is not that they do not roll out nice policies, processes and other things. But people, when they interact with you, they also screen you from various other angles. And one of the angle is those behavioral traits. Do you respect them? Do you inspire them? Do you empathize with them? Don't sympathize, do you empathize with them? So those are the elements leaders are looking into, and I'll talk about it a little more later, but I'll just give you a little more brief about company. So we are India's largest food service provider, 50,000 plus people. Most of the companies, hospitals you look for, Sodexo serves them as a food service. We make more than 2 million plus meal every day, and our employees are core to our strategy. Our values, our belief system is core to our strategy. India's largest cafeteria, which is the size of a football ground, where 35,000 people are getting fed, is managed by Sodexo, comes under a mega kitchen, Discovery Channel to cover up. So from large scale cafeterias to the smallest cafeterias, or managing a billionaire house also, whether it is some of the key billionaire, that is managed by Sodexo. And it becomes very, very important for us that how do we instill and translate the value system from the leadership level to the last mile, so that everyone feels same, respected, and they feel comfort and they feel inspired. Some of the future leadership values and some of the important effective leadership styles are, first of all, navigating uncertainty in the complexity, which is, I'll tell you about COVID-19 crisis. So many of the organizations, they were trying to remove people in COVID-19 crisis. We thought that we are a large scale organization, it will really impact us if we remove even 1,000 people, 2,000 people. So what we did, we actually reversed the situation in this adversity. And we created a portal where anyone who has lost the job can apply for it. And almost 9 to 12 different large conglomerates joined the portal. And instead of reducing or removing some of the employees, we actually gave employment to more than 15,000 employees. And that particular story, not only our employees of 3,000 odd, but we also gave jobs to other 15,000 employees. And Economic Times, they covered these stories in their publishing. So do you see adversity or uncertainty or complexity as a matter of challenge, or do you see it as an opportunity, is something you need to see as a future leader? Number two, the competitive advantage in the age of disruption. So we figured out that during this COVID crisis, one of the most important thing people are going to be focused upon is food. Just to give you some of the facts, only 4% of the Indian, they eat outside food. Almost large chunk of people, they don't, and all the corporate companies like us, large food manufacturer, everyone together is just managing 4% of business. There's a huge market which is available to explore in India. In Singapore, 44% people, they eat outside food because the quality of food has to be improved and many other factors. So do you see, so Sodexo at those stages, we figured out that we need to expand, and year on year we are growing rapidly because a clear focus on the market trend, the size of the opportunity, how do you adopt quickly with the various newer trends is something you need to really look into. Attract and inspire and retain talent is another thing which everyone, don't believe that or don't feel that you are not going to be in HR, so you don't have to retain your team member, you don't have to attract your team member. The retention of the team member has a direct correlation with your success as a future leader. If you are going to be an entrepreneur, if you are going to manage any business, employee retention is key. And are you inspiring them every moment? Are you attracting to them to your company? Are you able to retain the talent is something which is going to be seen by the competition, seen by your own employee, like in Sodexo. In last 5 years, only one leader has resigned. And among the top talent, only one person has resigned in the last 6 years actually. So how do you create that environment of employee feel valued? Because see, in the market there are tons of jobs available and people would look out for jobs. But if you have the right kind of culture as a leader, you will have great team members, and if you have great team members, you will have profitability year on year. And Sodexo has been a profitable organization year on year with a great numbers, and we are being constantly remaining leader. I'll just request to play a video which talks about how we have created the workplace environment. So the place you work also plays an important role in terms of your day-to-day life, how you feel, how you build, how you want to work on the organization. So the workplace, the wellness at workplace, the food at workplace, the coffee at workplace, the entire life cycle of an employee needs to be nicely taken care so that your company or your department will thrive in future. So let's see this video, that how Sodexo is designing the workplace.
As an organization, Sodexo provides workplace solution to clients to enhance their employee experience. The core objective of designing the new workplace is to make sure the entire spectrum of employee journey is immersive and engaging. Especially in the current times, coming to work needs to be fun, and the new office gives that motive to our employees to get to work. A happy, healthy, and motivated employee is the biggest brand ambassador.
Last 2.5 years of pandemic have transformed the core reason for working from work. Employees are now looking for inspiring reasons to come to office. They want an environment that boosts productivity and well-being. Our new workplace is a fine example of intangible benefits that induce our teams to come to work every day.
The large and open office spaces have made it easier for someone to walk to the other side of the floor for a quick chat. At the same time, the office also offers respect for people's privacy. Our interaction rooms informally facilitate team huddles, but without impacting the confidentiality of the conversations.
The informal interaction areas in the new office are just wonderful. Not only are they better than video conferences, but they have also improved the quality of my interactions. The personal interactions have helped me read and use body language better, which is an integral part of communication.
I'm a part of operations team. My work requires me to be more on field and less in office. I love the hot desking feature in our new office. This facility allows me to book a seat in different areas of the office every time. This makes me meet people from different teams and get to know how everyone contributes in their own unique way to the business.
I love coffee breaks. I think these tiny breaks go a long way in making new contacts and building workplace alliances. A hello one day at my favorite corner has translated into an interesting conversation another day. This is one of the key reasons why working in office is fun.
Coming to office for me is not only about working, but also connecting with colleagues, friends, wherein we discuss work, share our stories, family updates, and also celebrate our little joys together with collaboration spaces, casual corners. It has made it easier for me to connect, interact with colleagues over work and otherwise.
My favorite space is the cafeteria. The vibe in the cafeteria is inviting and warm. It's the perfect spot to de-stress and engage in interesting conversations with colleagues over tidbits.
Our new office is exactly what any modern workspace should be like. There are no cabins in the office, it's completely open. There are phone booths in the office that offer privacy. There are ample meeting rooms and the collaborative area.
So that was just an example of how one can care for employees who comes to the office. And caring doesn't just mean that you need to have the right policies, processes, but you need to have the right environment where people can thrive, and you need to respect the employees, and then employees' aspiration and employees' expectations are actually rising year on year, and that's the reason Sodexo is one of the great place to work company among the top 15 companies in India. Some of the other leadership traits would be sense making, wherein Sodexo has designed an SBU strategy, wherein what happens that a particular business unit, there are experts who talk to the client of that particular business unit. And when you have an expert talking the language of the client, then the client expectations and client client accepting you as a service partner really enhances. Some of the other elements, like typically a hierarchy driven organization, the issue is that if the leader is communicating something down the line, the entire communication gets distorted when it reaches to the last mile. So we have something called connections, wherein employees can go to a particular portal and they can see various projects leadership or leaders have actually posted on this on the system, and people from different departments that can actually join hands in those projects. And sometimes you figured out just maybe a 6 months old management trainee is working directly with the CEO on a particular project, and that helps organization to connect with each other in a fast-paced manner. And most of the organizations are starting to look into the technology which enables the connections element, and which is able to, wherein the communication is actually reaching at the ground level. So there are various such investment, like example the HR system which we are designing, which is futuristic. There are some technology like AI and machine learning which we are introducing in terms of ordering the food services. So as a leader, you need to be having a capacity or capability of inventing, because you need to constantly look forward for the newer ways to do the business. And I won't go into the presentation, but some of the quickly last thing which I would like to share in terms of leadership is about being authentic a leader. So it's very important that you in your future remain authentic, genuine to others, and try to feel and support employees who are looking for recommendations, who are looking for guidance. And how do you continuously appreciate, recognize people who are doing well? And there is entire organization has the culture of appreciation, recognition, the entire, all the diverse element in the organization, they are continuously thriving. Example, Sodexo globally, we have more women employees, 56% of the employees are women. In Sodexo India, I have more than 150 trans people working with us. More than 1,500 specially able people are working with us. So how do we ensure that these diverse group, they are thriving in the organization? It's not because if you want to launch a product and if you have everyone men in your organization, then those products won't be really making a sense in the market, because you don't have the right diverse representation within the organization. And hence one of the leadership component which one has to see is creating a diverse organization, and not the organization which a leader thinks from his or her mindset and what it should be. So I will just lastly, I'll play one last video, and then probably 1 or 2 questions I will take it because of time proximity. And this video talks about how various diverse groups are thriving in the organization. And if you have a thriving and a diverse culture in the company, it is inevitable that you grow and you prosper in future. So the video, please, the center one.
At Sodexo, We pride ourselves in serving over 1 million consumers, working at 500 plus prestigious global and Indian organizations. A team carefully built on the foundation of trust, partnership, respect and equality, because everyone deserves equal opportunities. And because we recognize that working hands are just working hands, to be identified for capabilities and not for their gender. By building a gender-neutral world full of opportunities, we are making every day a better day for a sustainable tomorrow.
Thank you. So I'll take one or two questions and probably then we'll end the discussion. Yeah.
How leadership is transformed, that one hierarchical experience is not right now in their organization. I was curious about how to be trustworthy in today's AI world. That you have at the starting of your presentation, you have said that 70% or more than that resumes or the criteria is matching for all of people. So how to be separate from them, or how to be trustworthy job seeker for the organization?
Sure, thank you. So number one is certainly, be authentic to yourself, because please have a seat. Number one is please be authentic to yourself, because organizations are not looking for a standard machine which gives one particular output. Okay, companies which are futuristic companies are looking for diverse background and diverse experiences and strength. And most of the students, you feel that okay, you don't have all the knowledge, or you don't have all the expertise, hence you are not the fit for that particular job, and hence you need to have a role or a resume which is exactly meeting to that particular requirement. Or in your interview, you try presenting yourself as somebody else rather than your own originality. And a lot of time candidates who are very bright candidates, they lose the opportunity. So everyone has a strength, and if we play with our strength, then we excel into it. Just giving an example, a small kid who is excellent in drawing or maybe mathematics, if I'm pushing that person into sports to become a sports person, that individual will become an average sports person, will become an average mathematician, or will become an average science student or something. The organization in future are not looking out an average resources actually. They are looking for brighter resources who have unique strength in themselves. So what I would say that to how to instill trust in your future organization while interviewing process or something else, I think just play with your strength. Because if you try to play with your weaknesses, you remain average, and when you remain average, others will actually lead and they will take the front on this front. So I'm sure that will help you.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Grateful for your session. Myself, Yash Yadav. My question is, what is the common challenges which are faced by food domain industries?
What are the challenges?
Common challenges.
Yeah. What are the
in day-to-day lives?
Certainly. So number one is food waste is the biggest challenge. Please have a seat. Just to give you some example, all of us together as Indian, we waste 13% of our food in the plate which we take. Even if we reduce it by 6%, the half of the wastage, most of the poor people who are sleeping with only one meal in India, there are more than 3 million people who are sleeping with just one meal in India. And that they are sleeping with just one meal because all of us are wasting 13 to 15% of the meal in our day-to-day plate. And when we waste the food, the raw material prices, vegetable and dals and everything got increased. So one of the challenges is the food waste, which India is actually struggling with. Now, number two is innovation in food actually. So, people are looking for more innovative food. There is a more and more effort. I think one of the panelists also spoke about is that, the food is going to change our life, because 3 times in a day we are putting some food inside, and that can actually change the way, our life is going to be there in future. So we have a lot of food offers. Example, one of our offer is called Arogyam, wherein the Ayurveda based food is probably offered to our consumers, and many such things are happening in the food area, including the usage of technology, AI, to when to procure the material, when to store the material. Just giving another example, the sambar as a recipe in India, it is 1300 unique ways sambar is made in India, and that has to be codified in the system, so that every 50 kilometer where the sambar taste is changing, you are able to meet the 90% of the expectation or the taste bud of the consumers who are eating your food. That is another big challenge which organizations are looking at in the food industry. And there are many such other challenges like technology in food and sustainability. Example, the coffee which you have in our company, we will be able to give you the entire trace, that when the coffee was sourced from Africa, from India, and then how the coffee is served to you, and what are the benefits of these things. And similarly in food also, there are tons of the consumers are getting conscious, and they're opting for more and more professional companies like Sodexo, so that whatever they eat, it is healthy and it is benefiting them in future. And yes, the vegetarianism is another thing which is happening, because all of you are aware that there are a lot of disadvantages of non-vegetarian food, including carbon emission and many other factors. While you want to produce the meat, there is a tons of water which is used to generate the meat or chicken and other things. So and it is causing a lot of environmental. So more than the car and the emission coming from industry, the emission from the livestock and chicken and other such product, because we want to eat them, is very, very high. And in fact, we are polluting the water also, and the fish and other things are also getting impacted. So there are a lot of tons of challenges are there. But I think the young generation like you, they are more aware, they are more conscious, they are taking the right decision in their life. And that's the reason I think future is very brighter in food segment. Okay, so thank you very much everyone for listening to me. One last piece of advice is that try to be as authentic as possible, try to help people in the organization, and try to be genuine to yourself, try to be kind to people. And when you're going to be like that, you will transform yourself as an individual, and most of your colleagues, your team member in future, they will accept you as a leader, and you will thrive in the organization. So very few people understand the power of the human behavior and human science in the leadership level. And most of the leaders, they do not come with the knowledge domain as a background. Many of them are very average in their knowledge, but their skills are to manage leader and manage teams and effectively manage the organization and get the organization ready for future, which is going to be very, very challenging. Thank you very much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, sir. So with this, we come to the end of day one of the Indira Excellence Awards. What an interesting and insightful day. A big thank you to all our dignitaries for gracing us with your presence. Have a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you once again. Thank you. Request all the students to please remain seated while our dignitaries exit the auditorium.
Recording stopped.